So, I got him, David Newman. Finally we met in London, in Old Street Station. He doesn't need introductions, he's very famous, former president of the International Solid Waste Association. Now he's based in London mainly to do consultancy and many activities on source separation and for sure for the organic fraction. First of all, David, let's talk about source separation of organics in London. Is it working in different boroughs?
You know, we have, I think it's about 17 different boroughs across London, and the idiocy of the policy here is that every borough can do what they want.
Yeah.
So whilst the Greater London Authority gives some sort of guides and gives some sort of indication, it has very little leverage over what each individual borough does. So we have some boroughs with very, very low levels of interception of organics, some with none at all, and some with good levels. I think of those 17 boroughs, 13 do some form of organics interception,
yeah,
and 4 do none at all.
I guess, yeah, I remember this figure. But is there a replication effect? I mean, some kind of dissemination of the best practices, or each borough is still very autonomous in this respect?
Each borough is very autonomous, and each borough has its budget. You have to remember that in the UK, we don't have a waste tax.
Yeah.
You don't pay for your waste, you pay for a council tax, and then the council pays for the waste out of that council tax. Councils are under a lot of financial pressure. Their transfers of money coming from central government have dropped by 40% and are continuing to drop, and therefore they're cutting services. And one of the first services that they think of cutting is waste services. So there is very little growth in food waste collections in London at the moment.
So do you think that drivers like policy making and also incentives, or I mean, the old landfill tax that were in place in the UK before, are still the way to go, or is it something different?
Well, fortunately, we have Europe still to help us.
Yeah,
and
still.
And the European policy says that by the end of 2023, across the EU, we need to have food waste collections everywhere. It's obligatory. So hopefully, London will also get its act together. Of course, all these things cost, they require investments, but in the long term, those investments pay back. We know that from the Italian model.
Yeah.
The problem is at the moment getting local councils to invest long term. They just don't have the resources. We need the policy drivers, therefore, and we need money to come to local councils. One of the sources of that money is going to come through a revision of the EPR schemes on packaging.
Yeah.
Currently, packaging industry pays in some 10% of what it should be paying in, and we hope that those extra resources, which will come in 2 or 3 years' time, would enable councils also to spend money on food waste collections.
And do you think that EPR schemes will be able to subsidize also other fractions not subject to EPR, like the organic fraction?
No, I don't think that will happen, but what it will mean is that at the moment, 90% of the cost of collecting packaging is borne by councils. When that cost is borne by the producers, the councils will have money free.
Money for other fractions?
For other things,
yeah, very good, David. And having a global overview, as you are also president of the World Biogas Association, do you think that biogas will be the future in this respect? I mean, pushing, acting as a driver also for source separation of the organics?
The driver is greenhouse gases. Okay, so the driver is the climate change.
And by the way, we can see it today. It's really hot. It's incredible.
Yeah, well, I've come to the office in shorts today, the first time in my life, and I'm sort of rather ashamed of that.
I'm not recording in shorts, but
it's really hot here in London.
Yeah.
And so climate change is the driver, and it's obviously a no-brainer that if you drive food waste into treatment, you can produce energy, you can produce compost, you can stop it producing methane in landfill. So that's what we will have to do. Now, whether we will produce compost, whether we will go into anaerobic digestion and produce biogas, very much depends upon each national situation and the incentives which each nation gives to those different forms of treatment. I think it's very likely that across the richer Western European countries, biogas will continue to develop. I think it's pretty unlikely across the poorer East European countries that we will see a massive change in the next decade.
At least in the short time, yeah. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
See you in the next chapter.